Okay, hello everybody. We're here with Mr. Benjamin Teacher, which is his real name, his actual name, given to him by his parents in the hospital.
Only James teacher and my mother call me Benjamin. So thank you very much.
Well, I'm called James. Only my dad calls me Jamie, and a person at school called me
Oh,
Jim. But we won't talk about him.
Jimmy. Can I call you Jimmy?
Jimmy, yeah, Jimmy. Well, my nickname, in on my what's my nickname? On my Gimkit nickname is Jimmy Whoop Whoop.
Jimmy Whoop Whoop. There he is in the
Yeah,
flesh.
but actually, Jimmy Whoop Whoop is a slightly better version of my real Jimmy nickname, which was Jimmy Poo Poo.
Oh, yeah. I won't ask you about that.
Well, I'm not sure because my brother made it up. There could
Of
be
course he did.
there could be some things that he witnessed when I was a young man, a young boy, that involved poo. But anyway, so yes, we're here with Ben, teacher, and we've got some questions for Ben, and for me, we're going to talk about them to get to know Ben, teacher, but also to answer some of the questions from our students. So the first half of the video is for the parents, where we shall be very, very serious and do our very best to answer everything perfectly. The second half of the video, we won't be serious, so parents, you can turn off, and then the kids can watch. I'm going to answer some of Ben's kids' questions, not his actual kids, but his students' questions. But
Better,
if his kids want
better.
to get involved, then that would be even better.
Oh gosh, they're at school. Thank goodness they're at school.
But anyway, so Ben, who is Ben Teacher? As the first question,
Oh
who is Ben
no.
Teacher? Who
Who
are
is
you?
Ben Teacher? Ben Teacher is a student at Jool. Outside Jool, I'm Ben. I'm a father. I'm a husband. I live in Spain, which is a different reality from Ben growing up, who lived in Minnesota, in the middle of the United States, kind of a rural environment, small town environment that I slowly moved away from as I grew up. I branched out. I've lived in different places around the world. I'm very thankful for those opportunities, and they've landed me here in my permanent home in Spain, where I live with my family. And I've been with Jool for more than 2 years now, and it's been fantastic. I'm enjoying every moment of the ride and our evolution as a school. Excited to see where that might take us and our
Oh,
students.
oh, absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. How about, do you have any grand plans one day to retire in Minnesota and own a farm or a ranch?
Oh, I can appreciate the farm and the ranch, but as an observer and a tourist, and my family's come from farms. Both my mom and my dad grew up on farms, and they don't anymore. And I didn't do anything other than visit my grandparents on the farm. So, like I said, I have an appreciation for that, but I could barely take care of a garden myself. Even knowing something about it, I would love to, but I don't think I could do it. So, Spain's a pretty nice place to retire, as I'm sure you know.
Yeah.
James, Europe has a lot of
Sunny.
benefits for yeah and for elderly people. There's a lot of systems here. We can walk around. It's a lovely place to vacation and retire. I say that all the time, actually. It's the best place to vacation and retire.
Absolutely.
The other things are all right too, but those are the best. So maybe this is my place.
Well, when you get to about 50 and it's time for a nursing home, it's all going to
Oh
be
my.
it's all going to be paid for
I hope not. I hope not yet. That's getting closer, James.
by, by the government, the welfare system is fantastic.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah, that's right.
my next question, Ben.
Mhm.
What do you love about teaching? I think this is a great question. Actually, I should ask myself these questions, because it's great to remind yourself sometimes. But what do you love about teaching?
It is. I like to get to know people,
Mm,
and kids are amazing people. Sometimes we don't even call them people. They're little people, but they're incredible people because they're becoming these personalities that you just see starting to bloom, to open up. They're discovering. In a lot of ways, they're so much more interesting than adults. Sorry, but we know this, don't we?
totally true.
Adults.
Yeah,
That
adults are
kids
boring.
are more fun. They're more creative. They're more
Mm,
imaginative,
mm,
um, and they love to have fun. And it makes teaching kids makes
mm,
me feel younger
mm.
and more interesting. When I speak with the kids and we have fun, I feel like, wow, uh, I can be interesting and fun too. When I speak to an adult,
Mm.
sometimes I think, am I as boring as I think I sound? I don't know. So it's wonderful to have, both parts, of course. And that's what I appreciate about teaching these days. I mostly teach kids. I've taught primarily adults in the past, but I'm very happy to be with the kids these days. As I get older, like I said, it's nice to do something to help me stay fresher.
Yeah, I
So
think
that's
it's
what I love about teaching.
I think it's an energy. It's all like an energy balance, isn't it? It's all reciprocal. So I know because life is serious. Life is hard. The cold, harsh reality of reality, which is an interesting sentence.
Yeah.
But I think, I would agree. I think for me, one of the things I love about teaching is just that the kids are there and they bring this energy to you, and you just have to respond. You just have to let it come in and not take yourself too seriously, because I think that's a huge problem for teachers. You just actually relax. I think also is like you let the kids see the real you as well. I think sometimes it can be you try to protect this image of a perfect teacher, but actually that isn't
right.
great to build that relationship with the kids. So you don't get the same energy if you try to do that.
Yeah. And I'll jump in. I don't know if it's the next question, but I'll say working with Jool allows you to do that so much more than maybe some other institution where you're forced to adhere to a certain protocol, a certain exam standard. None of that necessarily is negative, but it does limit you considerably to have a large classroom. Here, when we're one-on-one with a student and we have the freedom to create and to expand based on what that student needs, what that student can benefit from, the possibilities, like we like to say, are endless. They really are. And we can push those students, they can push us. Our class grows on a weekly basis. Whereas when you're stuck with some institution, perhaps our listeners have heard this before, education is one of the slowest industries to evolve ever. Even maybe within Korea, that likes to evolve very quickly. They might see that change happens more slowly there. But within our Jool classes, we're free to move as quickly as we like. And that's just tremendous as a teacher. So I feel very blessed.
There was a wonderful, actually, the kids loved this, and I had no way, I didn't plan this. Like in my beautifully crafted lesson plans before I teach, we were talking about like we're going to do something on story structure in a polymath class, and it was all about how most movies, Marvel movies, they follow the same structure: protagonist, antagonist, exposition, and then we were kind of coming up with ideas for a story, and I said, right, okay, I've got this idea for a story, and then I could see I was pitching the idea, and the kids like, oh yeah, okay, it's all right. And then one of the kids raised their hand with the little Zoom hand, which I'm doing right now. And the moment they did that, one of the kids, well, oh, how about a story about a floating yellow hand? And it was like, floating yellow hand? Really? Is that what kids are into these days? And then the kids just kind of like just took it, and it turned into a whole 10-minute exercise and activity, which is based on story composition. Got into kind of adding in rich adjectives to describe things, describe the senses, and it turned into a brilliant 10-minute activity of literature and writing and composition. And it was just literally from the kids putting something into the class. Whereas, like you said, if you're stuck on this idea that, oh, we're going to do this and we're going to follow this structure and this template and we will not diverge, you lose that originality that the kids really love, because they've been there, they've seen all of the ideas that we could ever have. But the things we haven't seen are the things they come up with, which I think is that's the originality of teaching. The kids bring so much into the classes. But yes. Anyway, go ahead.
It's a challenge for the teacher to be a motivator and guide, but at the same time to allow that student to guide the class is a challenge. But it's a challenge worth taking, because the more they create and take charge of their own education, the better off they will be in the long run. If they're always dependent on a book and always dependent on a teacher and always dependent on someone to tell them exactly what to do, what will happen when they get out in the real world and have to do it themselves?
You have to be able to transcend it. I think the teacher has to be able to transcend what is expected, but you're going to do that with the kids. It's like a flock of pigeons carrying away a car. which is a. I'm going to write that down and remember that. I think that's a fantastic, fantastic metaphor.
Yeah.
Anyway, I've got another question. What
Okay.
are kids? What are kids? Because this is something I really care about. What do you think kids are capable of?
Oh my, in general. More than we give them credit for, because oftentimes we limit them and we pose a particular task that I don't know, maybe we think is interesting, maybe we think um, it's necessary. Um, when you think critically about these things, you start to wonder, why are we doing this in general? What's the purpose of this?
Mm,
And when you start to ask those questions, you can start to think what we say outside the box. And how
mm,
could we do this differently? How could we do this better?
mm,
This is where kids excel sometimes. You like to talk to sometimes an outsider about
mm,
a topic. You get a fresh perspective. You
mm,
have many people thinking about a task and racking their brains for so long
mm,
that they get stuck. They
mm,
get stuck in a rut, we might want to say. And a fresh perspective comes in and they tell you something that you didn't think about because they come at this problem from a different angle.
mm,
That's like kids with many topics that they're
mm,
exploring and wondering about. And sometimes the simplest questions are the best.
mm,
And we go back and we start from there. And we create.
mm,
When we have a problem, we're not looking at it with one solution. We're looking at it open-endedly with
mm.
many possible solutions. Um, I think that's the goal with all topics at Jool
Yeah.
and all topics in general. If you can do that with a child, they will be better off
Mm,
as they reach, higher levels of their education. They hit all those bases. They've
mm.
wondered all their wonders.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
should be trained to continue to do that. Yeah, we naturally lose that as we grow older and we take things for granted every time more as adults and humans.
Mm,
And academically, that's a shame
mm,
because you stop wondering, you stop asking questions.
mm,
And that's what I would like to instill in all of my students is that they take advantage of their natural propensity to
mm,
do this. That's absolutely it. We talked about
mm,
kids. That was one thing as a parent. I think about parenting and teaching a lot
mm,
because they go hand in hand. Things I learn in my Jool classes, I try to implement at home. Things I learn at
mm,
home, I try to implement in my Jool classes.
mm,
Kids ask a lot of questions. As parents, we say, "Oh, sometimes just stop, just stop
mm,
asking. I can't take it anymore." But at the same time, from a child's
mm.
perspective, I wonder if I can just get a little bit of energy to answer every single question.
Yeah.
They'll continue to ask. Whereas if
Mm,
I, you know, push it away. Why are
mm,
you asking that? I don't want to talk about that, right? They'll stop asking questions. Oh, and that is a thought that keeps me up at night. What if our
mm.
students stop asking questions?
Oh, and that's it. I mean, it's a funny experience because I think you bring so much of your personal experiences into the class. And I always remember when I
Mm-hmm.
was a kid, I was that annoying kid who always said, why,
Mm-hmm.
Dad,
Mm-hmm.
why, Dad? And then my dad was the kind of like impatient sort to sort of answer it once in a very light way, and it just, oh, this should be enough, you know what I mean, just to get him to stop talking. And I would just want to know why and why and why and why. And kids do that. They ask why, they want to know why, and we don't tell them why, or we don't help them
Mm-hmm.
to understand why. And then I
Mm-hmm.
stumbled upon a video of Richard Feynman, the physicist,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Yeah.
talking about why does the woman slip on ice? And then the reporter's a little bit irritated. Why can't you just tell me the answer? Why does that? And he's saying, no, you can't just ask that question because you have to go deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. So I took that and put that in the book. And it's
Mm-hmm.
fascinating to get the kids because the kids get frustrated at
Mm-hmm.
first. Like, oh, so why are you here? And they, oh, I'm here because my parents had a baby and that was me. Why?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
then what? What do you mean why? Nobody asks why. That's enough. That's enough. No,
Mm-hmm.
why?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, because my parents
Mm-hmm.
loved each other. And then, okay, so why? And then you keep going down this rabbit hole. And then
Sure.
eventually you get to stuff like migrationary patterns of human beings. You get to evolution. You get to
Yeah.
all kinds of different places and a really
Yeah.
deep level with young
Mm.
kids, 8, 9 years old, because they can
Yeah.
understand the question why, and they can understand the ideas.
That's
They
it.
just don't know the terminology
That's it.
sometimes. They don't have the
That's it.
language that, but we can
Yeah.
give it to them. The only thing we're here to
And I
do is
think
give them the language, you know?
you're preparing them for later too.
Mm,
When they don't have that wonder, they don't have the same capacity to fill
mm,
up a void. You're
mm,
basically creating a void there by asking questions. You ask that question, it's on hold, it's there. But if you never ask the question, you never wonder,
mm,
there's nothing to fill.
mm.
No, I think it's absolutely marvelous to instill that um, in our students.
More annoying children, just like I was when I was a kid. That's what, let's annoy our parents until they just can't take it, and then they give us the answers we so desperately seek. Um, but now, okay, I think that's enough of the all the interesting questions. But I
Okay.
think maybe it's the time for some of the real questions, the
The real
real
questions. All
source
right.
of this little Jool cast.
Yeah.
So Ben, you got some questions from some of your kids that
I
you
do.
found. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
What did you find? I'm quite
All right.
curious.
Well, okay. First question is from my student Minyu, who I've
Uh-huh.
been with for quite some time. She would like to know, we love the Would You Rather game. It's
Uh-huh.
a great way to spur conversation. Would you rather be a planet, a moon, or a star? We're going celestial, astronomical with this one.
A
Uh,
planet and moon or star. How about
these are
you?
my favorite. These are my favorite lessons at Jool, almost talking about the cosmos
Yeah.
and how things are formed and the
Mm,
physics and the
mm,
scale of it all is
mm,
just incredible. And thinking about the scale of
mm,
being this massive object that's
mm.
got gravity and pull. And wouldn't it really be something to change the universe? Because you could if you were a star. I think more so if you were a star than a planet or a moon. And so I'm going bigger is better as
Uh-huh.
far as the universe is concerned. Even if you're a star, you're minuscule compared to
Yeah.
everything. I would still like to have my own solar system. There you go.
It's the
I want as
ultimate
many.
power trip.
That's right. I want as many planets as possible, and I want them to have several, not just several. Many that are in what they call the Goldilocks zone. The
Yeah.
Goldilocks zone, you'll remember that one. That's that
Mm,
key area where
mm,
life can be
mm,
produced because
mm,
we've got water. It's not
mm,
too hot. It doesn't evaporate. It's not too cold. It
mm.
turns to ice. It's a Goldilocks just right, like baby bear's soup. And baby bear's bed is just right for life. And so I would like to help, uh, you know, create some what in Star Trek they used to call them M-class planets. Kids, M-class was
Oh, M
hey
class.
going deep there. That's one for the parents. Sorry, kids. But that's a planet that can have life. So
Well, from okay, so if you're going for a star and you have a solar
going for
system,
star.
and we're talking
Yeah,
about M class planets, then I think I would
yeah.
have to plump for personally. I would become an M class planet.
Oh,
I
welcome
think
aboard.
I I think I would go for that. Of course, this is a different thing as well because I'm imposing this idea that a planet would have self awareness, almost like some
All
kind of
right.
sentient, a bit like from Guardians of the Galaxy 2, I think it is, where the dad is a sentient planet. I can't remember
Yeah.
what his name is now. I know Kurt Russell, but I
No.
can't remember the name of the planet.
Right. Right.
But I
Yeah.
think I would want to be some kind of sentient planet
Mm.
so that I would be able to observe the development of life around me. Imagine like Earth,
Mm-hmm.
that 5 billion years of Earth's life, just basically watching stuff scurrying around on your body.
Mm-hmm.
Like it
Mm-hmm.
just, you know what I mean? Just
Absolutely.
over here. I think that would be quite fascinating. But it'd also be
Yeah.
heartbreaking. It would be like some kind of fairy tale when you have little squirrels
Mm-hmm.
dancing up trees and you've got sharks swimming through
Mm-hmm.
the waters gently, hunting things as great apex predators. But then you would have
Mm-hmm.
humans. Humans would come along, and then the humans
Yeah.
would ruin it. So
Sure.
it would turn into something so much worse and so saddening. But I
Yeah, it's
think
a bit of a creator complex, isn't it?
yeah, I think so. Yeah, like I'm
We've
so
got this
proud and
creation on the yeah, we're
Oppenheimer.
proud. Are they on the right track, or have I created a monster?
It's just Oppenheimer. I have become this destroyer of worlds. which may
Yes.
inaccurately be ascribed to him. But anyway, that's a
Yeah.
great question. So Minyu, thank you very much for that question. That was a really interesting question. What's
All
your
right.
next question?
Second question from my student Sean from our literature class. Another would you rather. Let's do two in a row. Would you rather, we love to talk about animals. Another great topic. Would you rather be a short-lived mammal or a long-lived insect? So we chose to overlap this. Oftentimes insects have a short lifespan. Oftentimes mammals have a longer one. So we did a little bit of swapping there. And we made it difficult by imagining, you know, you could be a mammal like we are, but you're going to have a shorter life than that insect.
Ooh, that's what would you go for? What would you plump for? Mammal, short-lived mammal,
Well,
long-lived insect.
yeah, my first impression is that we're going to be losing something by choosing the short-lived mammal. Oh my gosh, the short-lived mammal. That's a tough one to say, because we're already a long-lived mammal.
Yeah.
And so I'd like to keep that long life, although I would sacrifice a bit of my mammal powers, you know, instead of insect. But insects have powers as well. It could be interesting to explore those. They're super strength.
For me, the obvious answer would be I would be a long-lived insect, just simply because I read something previously that was talking about the likelihood of alien extraterrestrial life existing.
Yes.
And there's almost a kind of a complete conviction that any extraterrestrial life would invariably be some sort of insect. Just simply, I freaked out my students a while back when I explained to them about a cockroach. That basically the superhero powers a cockroach has of running almost the same as us running like a high-speed train, being able to squash itself under a door, which is like almost like squashing itself under the door crack. And then the fact that it has this, because of its exoskeleton, it can essentially survive in underwater, in fire, in smoke. It can basically for about an hour. Can you imagine being able to survive underwater for an hour just because your body is so perfectly shelled? So I think it's obvious. I think you have to be a long-lived insect. Yeah,
it goes a little bit against the laws of nature, of course. By nature, it seems like insects, especially a colony insect, which are my favorites, ants and bees, they regularly sacrifice themselves for the good of the whole.
Well,
which goes against this theory of long-lived, because your life has a distinct purpose and it may come to an end in a short time. So that
all for the
throws
hive.
a wrench in the works.
Everything for the greater good. It actually reminds me of another. Sorry, go ahead.
I would miss the family aspect of mammals too. I love not just humans, but mammals have families, and I would miss that. While an insect might have a family of thousands, I'm not sure it would feel the same to have thousands of brothers and sisters. I love my sisters, but to have so many,
it might feel like communism, like the truest form of communism, that you have 1,000 or 5,000 comrades all willing to die for the cause. You know, you're all maybe that's how cockroaches feel.
Yeah.
Oh, cockroaches. I once disgusting story, but I once was staying in a house, and then we turned on the heating, and the moment we turned on the heating, about 200 cockroaches ran out of the pipe into the garden. And because we turned on the gas heating, we actually had gassed all of the cockroaches, the poor things. So I had to deal with 200 dead cockroaches and try and figure out what to do. And it was I'm fine with insects, but 200 cockroaches was overwhelming. I must tell you,
that's a bit much.
But still, I think I would be a long-lived cockroach any day of the week.
All right. All right.
How about our third and final question?
All right, third and final question. Let's go with my student June asked, and this is a great one. Who invented underwear? Who invented underwear? Which is great question from him. And I'm sorry to say I didn't do any research before this, but this is a great opportunity to practice speculation, which is a wonderful skill. I think people don't give it enough credit. as
Yeah.
speculation and academic guessing being a
Yeah.
skill. When you're not quite sure, you have no idea, but you can still discuss and wonder and make predictions about anything. And so while I have
Mm.
absolutely no idea,
Mm.
absolutely no idea who invented underwear, I'm sure it was invented shortly after the pants or the trousers were
The
invented.
pantaloons. I think the original name was
The
the pantaloons.
pantaloons.
Italian
That's
name.
right. I can't imagine that the first pants, well, it's confusing because pants for you and
Mm.
British people are underwear. So when I say
Yes.
pants, I'm talking about underwear. But when I say pants, I'm talking about trousers, pantaloons. So I'll continue along those lines. But
Oh.
the first pants could not have been very comfortable. I don't know what fabric they may have used, but I'm guessing it was quite coarse.
Mm.
And to have this coarse material lining your legs, your buttocks, your thighs, it's going to chafe. It's going to rub you the wrong way, literally and figuratively, James. And so I believe that a soft fabric, maybe some type of nice grass. I mean, it was probably a while before they put cotton into the mix, but as soon as cotton underwear came along, I think that probably at least quality of life might have doubled, in my opinion. Nice, pair of cotton briefs.
Oh
I can
yeah.
really.
It seems a bit almost like religious, the kind of like you have to punish self-punishment to show your contrition, like how you're so contrite for all of your sins, to wear like a horsehair underpants.
Yeah, right. Itchy.
Well, like the habit that monks used to wear. For me, I
Oh,
always
yeah.
say to my kids, whenever there's something where we think, oh, like, wow, what do we say? How do we analyze this? I always use I put this in some of the Jool books as well, as the pestle analysis, which I learned when I was studying business years and years ago. Which is you think politically, economically, socially, technologically, ecologically, or legally. Well, obviously, we don't talk about legally, although that would be interesting to talk about legally.
That's interesting. Yeah, see that? Yeah.
But ecologically, okay, you could talk about, like I said, cotton. I think we touched on that. But I was thinking economically. So my hypothesis would be that economically speaking, the underpants were invented for rich people, because
Sure.
if you think about back in the day, most people had literally like a pair of trousers or pants. They had a shirt. They had like very, very minimal belongings. So the concept of having something like a pair of underpants that you would change every single day, well, people were infested with lice and fleas and houses. Sanitation wasn't such a big thing. Even when I was a kid, like I used to hear stories about my great grandfather having a hot tin bath in front of the fire. It was a pain in the butt to set that up. So people were disgustingly dirty, but rich people weren't. So I would say that the only people who could even have an objection to the idea of wearing unclean clothes would be rich people. So economically speaking, I think that underpants were invented by rich people, because rich people could afford to think about their butts. And that's what I think.
But don't forget, I mean, rich people, when you have something, you want to be ostentatious about it and you want to show it. So the first underwear were not these little things that we tuck away and hide. No, don't show it. I imagine they wanted to show it.
Yeah.
They wanted to show their underwear. It was probably spilling out from from underneath their shirts and past the bottom of their trousers and pants. So we could see these frilly things hanging out.
Well, yeah, like the wealth is just, by definition becomes ostentatious, doesn't it? It becomes a show. Look what I've got. Look at this dangly thing. Look at this dangly watch, and then underpants and socks, colorful socks. There's no difference, right? It's just totally optional to have colorful socks. But like, oh my goodness, look at my economic status. I've got polka dot socks, and I'm confident enough to wear these polka dot socks. So probably the same with pants. Look at my pants; they're spilling out because they're so voluminous. I've got so much organic cotton that I could afford.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Almost unrelated, but just an interesting fact. The first high heels were worn by men, not women. High heels? You hadn't heard that one?
Just for height. Oh, no, I'm just thinking for height. Is it just for status, to try and be taller?
That's right. Yeah, sure.
Just want to be bigger. My brother and I, when we were kids, used to get into arguments sometimes, and sometimes my mother's high heel shoes became weapons that were thrown like missiles, hurled across the room. We used to have 2 beds, so we had 2 single beds, and we shared the bedroom. So we would hide behind the bed, and then we would throw the shoe, and then it was exciting stuff. It was exciting stuff. No permanent injuries.
That sounds exciting. All right.
But anyway, I think we're all done. So June, I hope you enjoyed our answer. Actually, I think we could probably spend about another 2 hours talking about who invented underpants.
Probably.
I think a whole episode
absolutely.
So if anybody has any questions you guys would like to ask Ben and I, we'd be happy to discuss them. But apart from that, I hope you enjoyed listening to getting to know Ben Teacher a little bit more and listening to our wonderfully academic, incredibly silly answers about some interesting questions. And remember, don't throw shoes at each other, because it's a terrible idea.
Especially high-heeled ones. Yeah.
Yes.
Leave mom's shoes alone. Or if they're dad's, same. Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time. So goodbye from me.
All right. Bye.